Okay, so this brings us to another part of the discussion, that is previous year question papers. See, we have broadly covered all the aspects of tropical cyclones, but one thing that every aspirant should consider is that previous year question papers, we should always keep that with us, because they not only gauge your preparation but also give you a good direction related to preparation, because it's vast syllabus. So previous year questions papers will be very useful. So if you look at the mains examination, there have been 2 questions asked in cyclones. One, in 2014, a question was asked. I'll just briefly discuss that question. Question was asked that tropical cyclones are mostly confined in Gulf of Mexico, South China Sea and Bay of Bengal. Why? So first of all, I'll just name these places. First is Gulf of Mexico, South China Sea, and Bay of Bengal. Why? Now, go back to the previous discussion where we had mentioned these 3 water bodies specifically. One is a part of Atlantic Ocean, another is a part of Pacific Ocean, third is a part of Indian Ocean. So, first of all, when you get a question like this, first thing that should come to your mind is a clear map. You should be clear with the location of these water bodies. So the question is why? So all the aspirants taking this question should consider first point as the first thing that should run through your mind is conditions that are required for the formation of cyclones. So remember, temperature. Second, insolation. Third, rate of evaporation should be higher. So these are some common factors. Of course, Coriolis force as well. But there is one thing that is common in all the 3, and what makes them more vulnerable to tropical cyclones. And what is that? Warm ocean currents. Warm ocean currents. So we know that warm ocean currents increase the temperature of water, increase the rate of evaporation, therefore increase the chances of tropical cyclone. So warm ocean currents. Now aspirants, those who have prepared prelims very well, those who have studied oceanography very well, will also name these currents. So for number 1, Gulf of Mexico, what is the current? It is Gulf Stream that draws warm water towards Atlantic Ocean. Second, South China Sea. It's very close to the Kuroshio current that draws again warm water from equator. Third, southwest current, which is in Bay of Bengal. And you must understand there is one special reason for Bay of Bengal. What is that? Is the salinity of Bay of Bengal is much lesser because of so many rivers draining into Bay of Bengal. So lesser salinity, more temperature. These are points that should run through your mind. So you should consider, yes, when you get this question, first of all, yes, you should be clear with the conditions. You should be clear with the conditions of these particular water bodies, because it's a very specific question. So when I have a point, when I carry points with me, when I can generate points, then the question becomes very easy. Now it's very easy to write answers. So especially in physical geography, see, there's a lot of material available with you. It's conceptual. So you should be clear with the concepts. So, and the easiest way to begin answer, if you say there is this introduction, body, conclusion, etc. So for introduction, the simplest can be something like the definition of cyclone. An intense low pressure zone accompanied with heavy rainfall and fast blowing winds with a circulating effect or swirling winds. That can be a definition of cyclone. That it can be one of the introduction. Adding one more point to this will be once you have written the definition in the introduction itself, the same line, that cyclones are confined mostly to these tropical disturbances or cyclones are confined mostly to the eastern part of the continents. So when you refer to the location of continents, like say, location of cyclones, then comes the next aspect, which is what we say body of the answer, and that is you should write about the conditions that lead to cyclonic disturbances, origin of cyclone. Second part, the specific conditions, right, confined to these three water bodies, that is Gulf of Mexico, naming the current, Bay of Bengal and South China Sea. Once you're done with this, you will be consuming 100 words very easily. So now it becomes very challengeable. Towards the end, see, one of the pattern of conclusion that is very easy to understand is there should be a futuristic point, there should be some applicable point, there should be something. Now here it's a disaster. It's a disaster. So what should be the conclusion? Just in one or two lines, we know that cyclones are confined in these three water bodies. So we need to take necessary steps like preparations, right, like speedy recovery and like rehabilitation. These in one line, that as the regions are defined, so adequate preparation should be done, infrastructure should be created to increase the capacity, like by preparing ourselves for the cyclones, speedy recovery and rehabilitating those who have lost homes, those who have suffered economic losses. Apart from that, last point, now some things like planting mangroves can be very handy, can be very useful, because when cyclones pass through vegetation, they act as friction. Vegetation acts as a friction and reduce the impact of cyclone. So what better than mangroves, because they have buttress roots and therefore can hold soil and ground much more firmly than any other tree. So coastal areas are also conducive for mangroves, so plantation can increase. So now this is one of the way that we can write in answers, exams. Thank you.